Hi guys, so I just thought of coming live and taking some Q and A's. So we did this session on Instagram as well in the last week. So please do feel free to get in touch. Just put the questions in the chat box and be happy to answer them. Okay, so I can see some two people. I don't know. Right, so welcome everyone for the live session. My name is Alan. I'm the same guy that appears in the videos, and I'm here to take some Q and A's. Please feel free to put in the questions. Any questions related to careers, any questions related to qualifications, interview preparation, whatever you might feel is something that you need help with, I'm happy to uh, guide you through this. Unlike Instagram, you can actually see the name of people. So here I can't see the name of the subscribers. Okay, finally. Oh, is it? Uh, why don't you send me the list, the one that you want to actually learn? I might be able to actually send you the link directly. Are you talking about the equity research videos that we have been launching now? Is that the one that you're talking about? Because those ones directly, I've sent it through Google Drive. Probably the ones you're talking about, which were listed in the website, might not be working. That's because uh, probably 6 months back we had to clean up our website uh, due to some spammy, inbound links that people were sending to us. Okay, okay, got it. So yeah, these are the old videos, right? Yeah. So I could recommend you to use some other videos because if you're learning basics of financial modeling, it's better to actually refer to the the new videos that I've just launched. Those might actually make more sense to you. Right. So those are the old videos. I'll still try to find the links for those if I can just probably directly share it with you. Right. Okay. So what else? Hi Ajay. How are you doing? Any questions related to careers that I can help you with? Please do let me know. Mm, okay. Well, better pay as in finance industry, not investment banking. Yeah. So if you're saying non-finance, I mean not investment banking, then you might be referring to corporate finance, right? So when you're saying corporate finance, uh, generally speaking, if you are towards, let's say, strategy, or if you're towards financial planning analysis, or if you're in, let's say, treasury, these are the areas where the salaries might be higher, right? So compared to, obviously, if you I hope what you mean is statutory audit, right? Yeah, so statutory audit would obviously fall towards accounting side, right? Pure accounting, right? Well, I think the private equity again would fall under somewhat related to investment banking. Right? It's not really corporate finance. So, and private equity usually requires you to have some experience in entry level investment banking work, like for example equity research, investment banking, sell side equity research, unless of course you end up going to a very big premium college, uh, where also private equity would be like one in, let's say, 50, right? So not everybody gets into private equity so easily. uh, and at the end of the day, even private equity is given as a service by the investment banks, right? Companies like investment banks. So the idea should be to get into an investment bank and then you can choose various fields. I'm confused between audit and finance. For see, don't try. Obviously, everybody gets confused. Everybody was confused at a point in time, uh, including me, right? But the way of answering that question is not through just pay. If you try to answer that only through the salary, then you would be making a big mistake, right? So my suggestion is to look at the content. What do you actually like? Do you feel like you are the kind of a person 10 years down the line, would you enjoy, regulation, accounting, taxation? Would you enjoy that? And if the answer is yes, then of course go towards it. Similar question needs to be answered in terms of investment banking as well. Are you the kind of a person who would enjoy, researching on businesses, going very deep into businesses, doing the valuation of companies? Are you that kind of a vocal kind of a person who can, convince people on a investment idea? Are you that kind of a person? If that's the case, then you should go. So that's how you should actually be answering or deciding between careers rather than just looking at the salary. Well, so that's a good start. That's a good start. That you've actually uh, experienced auditing. Now your idea should be to experience finance as well. So once you experience finance, then probably you will be able to, and probably the reason why you would have enjoyed audit is because it's more investigative in nature, right? So that might also give you a clue that maybe you might like research also, because research, obviously the objective is different. In case of audit, you are doing it, as a part of compliance. But when you're doing research, it's more towards making money. So you never know, you might actually like that. So try learning financial modeling, things like financial modeling. Try looking at, companies' annual reports. Try to make a valuation model. Maybe you will end up liking that. And the final thing is to actually work in the industry. If you work in the industry, that's where you actually, uh, get the real idea of whether that's actually for you or not, right? Well, I don't know what your current education background is, but if maybe you can help me with that information first. If you are already a graduate, then you just got to learn the skills. If you want to get into, let's say, research, you just need to prepare enough what the industry is asking. So if, let's say, you're talking about equity research, so equity research, although this education industry has not actually does not really tell you about this, but that's where the problem lies, right? So to enter finance, you don't need very big qualification, right? So even with a BCom graduation, you can actually, there are a lot of companies which hire towards research and in finance roles also. It's not necessary that you have to do, but the only thing that you actually need to learn is in the interview. Nowadays interviews are very different, you know. People are not aware of this. People think that they will just do qualifications after qualifications after qualifications, and somehow they will get some preference in the interview. Unfortunately, that's not how it actually works nowadays, right? Because you try and go and apply to various jobs online, when if you even if you see a LinkedIn job application, and if you actually press, and if you go through the interview process, it's entirely mechanical, right? So the first round is a test, so if you want to get into finance, let's say if you want to get into equity research, then the first task itself is to make a financial model, right? Or maybe answer questions related to DCF valuation, financial statement analysis, etc., etc., right? So the idea is to learn that first, right? Because that's more difficult to learn, and plus it gives you a job first, and when you actually take up the job, you understand about the industry more. That gives you more perspective and more confidence to do more qualifications if required, right? So back in the days when I was doing CFA, so I did not, I after BCom directly I started BBA, I actually started working while parallelly I was doing CFA level 1, right? But when I went in the industry, I realized that probably I do not require to do, even FRM, because in the coaching classes, usually this is the feeling, right? I'll do CFA and I'll do FRM also, then I'll do CAI also, everything I'll do. But is the industry really asking you to do it? Why are you wasting your time? You could very well learn a lot of other things. So, uh, so the even if you've done ACC, for example, probably you're pursuing ACCA, right? So more than enough, right? You're already a graduate, you can start working, and that's more important, right? Because ask yourself this question: that in 15 years of experience, right, from here, what would be more valuable? Would the company value your qualifications, or will it value your experience, right? And there's more to learn in the experience fact, because the real world is very different. Okay. Sukanya is also asking, I'm in the field of accounting, how do I start my career in finance? Well, the same answer that I was giving to Aditya also holds true for you, right? So let's say if I want to, okay, so I'm reading a question, right? Which are the basic terms I should start with? Well, to first and foremost, always understand whether it's accounting, whether it's finance. Okay, try to keep things simple and understand that the most important thing and the difficult thing to learn is financial statements analysis. I've said this in my class, I've said this in videos, I've said this in everywhere in posts, that the most important thing to know in any research based or finance based job is to actually go to the basics, which is financial statements analysis. If you know financial statement analysis and maybe you don't know a little bit of valuation, that's fine, right? Because valuation can be taught very easily, right? It doesn't take much time to teach you valuation. But if you know valuation but you don't know financial statements, that's going to be a very funny scenario, right? Because you know the techniques of valuation, but what are you going to analyze? Because all the assumptions are going to come from financial statements, and that is frequently the reason why people don't get jobs, right? They come up with so many qualifications, but the reason why they don't get jobs is not because they don't know valuation techniques, it's majorly because they don't know financial statements, right? So that's the truth, that's the real truth. Okay, so Sukanya, what's your education background? Okay, so I think probably Super Sukanya cannot hear us. All right, so let me know if you have any other questions. I will be able to answer that. Okay. So let me put it this way, probably it's better to ask you some questions which will give you an idea of what do I mean by financial statement analysis, right? So, for example, in an interview, if I was taking the interview, which would be very similar to what even the industry will ask you, right? So, for example, I might just tell you that okay, financial statements. First of all, take me through the linkages between three financial statements, right? Now, usually people will try to answer this in a very, very theoretical sense, right? They will say that okay, income statement is showing the revenue and expenses, and balance sheet, gives us assets and liabilities, and the cash comes from. That's not the question, right? The question is that how are the three financial statements linked? So you have to start with first giving a gist of what these financial statements mean in the real life, right? So in the real life, income statement is just an accrual based statement which is capturing what has happened in a given year. So all the revenues which have the company has been able to generate versus all the expenses that the company has incurred. So there's a profit, right? Now, of course, you would also want to know how the company has been performing across years. So that gets accumulated in the balance sheet, right? So that's why we say balance sheet is a statement which gives a position of the company at a point in time, right? But now the problem is that these two statements, income statement and balance sheet together, right, they are based on accruals, which means that if I am saying that I've sold 500 crores worth of goods, doesn't really mean that I have actually earned the cash also, right? So hence now the reason is that you need to reconcile this, and that is done through the cash flow statement. Now, so when you are saying this is the objective of the three financial statements, now the next part of the answer should be that okay, revenues, all the accruals related to revenue generating activities is available in the balance sheet in the form of accounts receivable, right? So any change in accounts receivable year on year suggests that okay, if the accounts receivable is increasing across years, it means that the cash is not getting collected, right? And if that accounts receivable, you can also analyze it through days, accounts receivable days. So if the days of receivables is increasing across years, that also means that the company's capability of collecting cash is low, right? Now this gets calculated in the cash flow statement, right, in the form of change in accounts receivable. So that was one example. For example, expenses, on the expenses side. So we talk about cost of goods sold, right? Again, the cost of goods sold is not necessarily in cash. So it is linked to accounts payable and inventory in the balance sheet, right? And the change of it is captured in the cash flow statement, right? So similarly, depreciation, right? So you buy an asset, it doesn't directly go to the income statement because that asset cannot be used in one given year. And remember, income statement stated that it is giving you the operations of the company in a given year. So obviously, when you're buying a machine, you're not only use it in one day or 1 year. So first it goes to a balance sheet, and then its use is getting captured in the income statement in the form of depreciation. So now you explain this as the three financial statements and the gist of it. Unfortunately, in the interview, people are not able. Now, let's give another example. Okay, so I might also ask the student, okay, that let's say if the company's return on capital, okay, is about 15 to 20% versus a company's, you know, let's say another company whose return on capital is let's say 8 to 9%, right? And both the companies are in similar industry. Why do you think? But on the one hand, the cash flow generated by the company with an ROC of about 15% is great, versus the company which is not generating that much cash flows, ROC which is equivalent to 10%. What could be the possible reasons? Explain it. Right? So this is another question. So if you see my questions, these are questions which are very, very, you cannot answer these questions unless and until you understand the concept, not just remember the concept. Most of the times we are doing the qualifications, no problem with the qualifications. Qualifications are not the problem. The problem is the perspective. So all these things obviously I've learned, right? But the problem has this, that the way of testing this knowledge in these qualifications is actually through exams. And exams basically are, exams is basically about remembering, right? Remembering to replicate it in the exam, but applying in the real world is what is not happening. So that's my take on it. So that was a very, very long explanation of that question. Okay. Any other questions anybody has, please let me know. Great. Thank you, Aditya. Okay, any questions, please do let me know. I've answered a lot of questions from Aditya. If anybody else has any questions, please do let me know. Anything related to careers, related to technical questions, industries, anything. I don't know if Sukanya is there. Probably we will continue with our conversations. If you're there, please do let me know. I'll continue with my answer. I thought probably you are disconnected. Yeah, so these are, you know, finance related concepts, right? These are majorly used in the finance side of it, right? So that's what we teach in financial modeling course, right? So these are just basic things which form a part of financial statement analysis and uh, valuations. So once you do the financial modeling course, you will be able to understand that very easily, right? So we have other people also probably in the viewing. Probably I am at the wrong time. You guys have any questions, please do let me know. Okay, so you've done MCOM. So in terms of the qualification, of course, you have everything. Right now, the question is, what part of finance do you want to get into, right? Because finance, you can think of finance as majorly two fields or three fields, max to max, right? One is into obviously investment banking and equity research. This is the advisory part of it. Second is to get into corporate finance, and third is obviously accounting. Now, accounting, of course, if you want to be in the core accounting industry in India, then you have to have those core accounting qualifications like CA, right? And so if that's an option, you can obviously pursue that. Else, if you're getting into corporate finance or if you're getting into, let's say, investment finance, then qualifications do matter, but not really much into to get into the industry, right? So to get into the industry, I think MCOM is more than sufficient. Now you need to just add up the skills, whether you do it yourself or whether you do take help from institutes like us. That's personal. That's entirely a personal choice. I have never told people that you can learn things only through an institute. You can obviously learn yourself also, but that depends on what industry you're targeting. So for example, companies like Visible Alpha, Tress Vista, Transparent Value, Crisil, all these companies into finance, right? So if you want to get into these, then of course the basic skills have to be in place, because those are going to get tested in the interview, right? So you build it up. right? Whether you build it up through a course or whether you build it up directly by self reading, self learning, doesn't matter. But that's what is required for you to get into finance. I mean, that's as simple as that. I mean, you don't really have to wait for anything and to happen. There's nothing that's going to happen. The requirements of the industry is not going to change, right? So just look at the job description, go to Naukri, go to LinkedIn, search the job, look at what is written in the job description, right? Read that job description well, and that's what is going to tell you what exactly do you need to know, right? So if you look at a equity research interview, job, it isn't. No, you need to know DC evaluation, you need to know financial statements, you need to know Excel, right? You need to understand businesses, and accordingly you prepare, right? And if you want to prepare, obviously using some institutes like us, then we do it very easily for at one place because we have already done that research. So that's how you get into finance, right? Now, of course, in investment banking also you can also get into the back office, front office, all these are there. So that also is an option, right? But at the base level, this is the requirement. Okay. Okay, so Aditya wants to know what is the difference between investment banking and corporate finance. Well, think of it as when you're, let's say, you talk about your company, let's say you had a company, or let's say Mentor Me Careers, right? So that's our company. Now, in order to manage the cash flows, the projections, how we are going to expand Mentor Me Careers, that is something, a question that would lie with corporate finance. That is corporate finance, right? So I need to create a budget for how much money is going to spend on product development, how much money is going to spend on employees, salaries, rent, etc. Right? So I will put that up. So that's nothing but corporate finance, right? Also, surplus money that we're generating, what to do with it? That's corporate finance, right? Now, let's suppose now I am looking for an investor. So I want to expand, or maybe I want an exit. I want to make some money, or let's say I want to, increase the reach of the company. So maybe I want to merge with some company. Now, obviously, I cannot do this myself, right? I cannot just go to Google and search for a partner. That's not really going to happen. So the specialized, business that does this is what? Investment bank. So investment bank, I'll approach an investment bank. I'll say that this is what my need is. This is what I want to do. I want to expand. I want an investor, right? So can you help me find an investor? So the investment bank will say, okay, we'll do that. Let's try to understand about your business. So the investment banker will sit with me, understand my business, understand my assumptions, understand my vision, expansion plans, cost, financial statements, etc., etc., etc. All the kind of data which probably the investment banker requires. I will give that, right, to him. He will, make a financial model out of it, or maybe create an idea out of it, right? He might come back to me again for multiple discussions on probably this is what you need to change about your business, etc., etc. And then he finds relevant investors, because remember, investment banker is the guy who is connected in the industry with investors. So he is the right person for us to find. So this is majorly an advisory role, right? So this is what is investment bank, and the previous one, the internal thing that we are doing is nothing but corporate finance. Both pay. Don't just think about pay. Pay is both. In both the areas, the pay is good. Okay, because pay is dependent on the value that you create. So if you are working in corporate finance, but you're adding a lot of value, you can earn good. But you might be in investment banks, which supposedly are thought to give you more money, but if you're not adding a lot of value, right? If you're not progressing through careers, through years, you're just doing the same thing, obviously you're not going to get paid. Of course. So in corporate finance, instead of valuation, it becomes more about budgeting, forecasting, right? And of course, financial statements are the same place. So concepts majorly towards strategy. A good place to start would be management accounting. All the management accounting concepts or costing concepts uh, to be done practically would be a part of corporate finance. Right. So, any more questions? So, we just have about 1 minute left before I have to move out into a different session. Okay, Aditya, thank you so much. And all the other viewers, hopefully, we'll try to get more viewers next time. I know we are going live after a long time. I hope you are liking the content that we are making. If you have any feedback for that, I am happy to listen. And please help us with the feedbacks, and also, telling your friends, whoever might find these contents useful, to subscribe to our channel, right? And be in touch. I'll be back again with a live session in the next session, right? And if you have still have any questions for me, you can still put it in the chat box, uh, or you can put it in the comment box. I will personally reply to it if you by chance were not able to make it on time for the live session. And also mention which is the time that is most suitable for everyone to do a live session, right? So I just came randomly today. I'm so sorry about that. And thank you and good evening. Bye bye.